The midnight train from London to Manchester was almost empty. Rain lashed against the windows, and the rhythmic clatter of wheels echoed strangely through the carriages. Among the handful of passengers sat Daniel Carter, a tired office worker returning home after a long week. He carried only a briefcase and a worn-out paperback novel. Daniel wasn't fond of traveling alone, but it had been a last-minute decision to extend his stay in London and all the morning trains. Back to Manchester were fully booked. So here he was, riding the lonely Midnight Express. He took a deep breath, trying to relax, but he couldn't help noticing that every other seat in the carriage was empty. It was odd, but he figured the rain must have scared off most commuters. Still, he couldn't shake the feeling that he was being watched. Glancing around, he saw a woman sitting at the far end of the carriage. She wore an old-fashioned black dress, and her hair was neatly tied in a bun. Something about her posture was off, but he couldn't place it. He tried to look away, focusing on his book, but he could feel her unwavering gaze boring into him. Startled, he looked up. Every time he glanced at her, she was staring directly at him, her eyes blank and unmoving. It was unsettling, like staring into a lifeless doll. Daniel tried to shake off the unease and read, but the woman's fixed stare made it impossible. Just then, the train roared into a tunnel, and the overhead lights flickered. When they steadied, he saw that the woman was gone. Puzzled, he scanned the carriage. It was still mostly empty, but the woman was nowhere to be seen. Relieved, he let out a breath he hadn't realized he was holding. Convincing himself that she had simply moved to another coach, he relaxed back into his seat, thankful that he was alone again. But his solitude lasted only moments. He heard soft footsteps behind him and slowly turned. His blood froze. The woman was sitting directly opposite him, her pale face tilted at an unnatural angle. Her lifeless eyes stared straight ahead. Taking a shaky breath, she whispered in a voice like dry leaves rustling in the wind. "The seat was taken." Daniel stumbled back, knocking his briefcase to the floor with a thud. He scrambled for it, heart pounding, and ran towards the next carriage. But the connecting door was locked tight. Turning, he saw the woman standing inches away. Her breath was cold and smelled of damp earth. She leaned closer, her empty eyes boring into his. "You shouldn't have boarded this train," she rasped. The train screeched louder as if reacting to his terror. He pounded on the locked door. "Help! Someone help me!" But there was no conductor, no other passengers, only endless rows of empty seats. Then the train lights died, plunging the carriage into absolute darkness. In the pitch black, he heard dozens of whispers surrounding him. Panicked, he fumbled for the door, but it was locked. When the lights flickered back, the carriage was filled with silent passengers, all dressed in black. Their faces were pale, their eyes empty and staring. None of them blinked. None of them moved. The woman in the bun from before stepped forward. "You shouldn't have boarded this train," she repeated. "Once you ride the midnight line, you never get off." Her hollow voice echoed around him as invisible hands gripped his shoulders, pulling him towards a seat. His body froze. He couldn't move. He couldn't scream. Around him, the ghostly passengers sat perfectly still, their heads slowly turning toward him. One by one, they blinked, their eyes gleaming with a cold, otherworldly light. The train plunged into another tunnel, the sound deafening in the darkness. When the lights flickered back, Daniel was gone. A new passenger sat in his place, face pale, suit soaked with rain, eyes wide but lifeless, staring straight ahead. Dawn broke as the train pulled into Manchester station. People hurried off, shaking off the rain and the night.
But those who rode the midnight line never left.
The train was completely empty, except for rows of silent, ghostly figures sitting stiffly in the carriages, staring out the windows with vacant eyes. And if you ever ride the midnight train, look carefully at your reflection. You might see a stranger sitting beside you, waiting silently for the next soul to join them on the midnight line.